Welcome to the Double Broker Bounty Hunters Stop the Scam. Here are your hosts, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera, and Dispatch Kate, Caitlin Price. Good afternoon, everybody. John Cantera here, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter. Welcome to Stop the Scam. And with me, as always, is Dispatch Kate. Kate, how are you doing this week?
Pretty all right. You know what? For a Monday, it was a pretty good day.
Yeah, I like to hear that. Garfield has always been telling us that Mondays suck. I think Mondays suck. But likewise, it hasn't been too bad today. Very wet and very windy. Those of you along the Gulf Coast, you know what I mean. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it with stuff that's going on for this week. First and foremost, of course, if you have any issues whatsoever, reach out to Kate and myself. I'm at jcantera@vigilanttransport.com, or you can get Kate at kprice@rockdovefs.com. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need us. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns during our broadcast, please go ahead and send us some comments, and we'll be happy to answer whatever questions you have while we're still on the air. What's most important for everybody is this week is DOT week. If you haven't been out there and seen them yet, you will soon. DOT week is an international event where DOT in plus Canada's equivalent, as well as Mexico's equivalent, they all focus on specific inspection items on commercial trucks going through their territories. And this week's focus is, Kate?
I don't even remember. I just talked to somebody about this the other day. I done forgot.
Wrong answer. Okay, the correct answer is alcohol and controlled substances. So the dogs will be out in force along with DOT officers. So if they happen to smell something coming from your truck, you better believe you're going to get an inspection this week. So keep that in mind. If you happen to partake for whatever reason, legal or otherwise, even if the state that you're in, it is legal, just don't have it in the truck with you this week. Please save yourself the time and aggravation. We do not need you getting reported to the drug and alcohol section over there at DAT. You don't want your name on that list. Okay. So with that being said, make sure you're doing your walk-arounds, make sure your logs are tight, all the other usual stuff that DOT likes to watch out for, because they have been out since Friday afternoon in force all across the country. And I imagine they will stay out through this coming weekend. So have fun out there, guys. I'm so glad I'm not driving anymore. I hated DOT weeks. Other than that, we have lots of fun going on in the fraud front this week, folks. Looks like Kate just dropped off, but she'll be back in a moment. I know she's got some storms in her area, so she'll be in and out. DAT credentials have been compromised again, and we're reporting this now almost every week. For dispatchers and carriers out there who peruse DAT from time to time, you're probably seeing it out there. In the comments on these compromised loads, you're going to see email to and then a arrow made of dashes and then a Gmail email address, kind of. But the email address has like this A with the parentheses around it. So it's not the @ sign that you normally see. It's messy. In most cases, the email doesn't exist. So I'm not entirely sure how they're conducting that scam. But we do know for a fact that these are compromised DAT accounts among brokers. We have seen it with Dupree. We have seen it with Axel. We have seen it with Armstrong, We have seen it with a lot of top name brokers who are known non-scammers, but at the same time, the loads themselves that you see out there are obvious scams. I mean, 200 miles for $2,000. Folks, if you are dumb enough to book this load, you deserve what you get. I'm sorry to say that, but if it's too good to be true, I promise you it is too good to be true. Seriously, don't fall into that trap. You don't deserve to be there. So yeah, Dupree, Axel, Armstrong was today, I think you mentioned, right, Kate?
Yes.
Who else is out there? I'm opening up my notes here to see. Kuhn and Nagel got hit. GAP got hit. And these are all within the last couple of weeks. This is happening daily, guys. The recommendation I have for any broker out there is assume that your account has been compromised. If you're planning on going on vacation or taking a day off and you are a regular on social media, make sure that before you leave your office to go on vacation or whatever you're doing, change your passwords right then, because they somehow have already acquired your credentials and they're waiting for you to go on vacation. Once you go on vacation, 8 a.m. next morning, they're logging in and they're booking loads. And I kid you not, I spoke with the owner of GAP a couple of weeks ago when this happened. They ended up having, I think it was 128 loads that were posted on a compromised account in under 30 minutes, I think that's what DAT told them. I've got to follow up on that. It was
some crazy amount
number. Okay, the problem is that 3 days later, GAP was starting to get bills from these loads. So I mean, there are actual loads out there. These were all Amazon loads when it was GAP. I don't know whose loads these other ones are. Most likely, I'm guessing Amazon, because that's the easiest one to do it with. It takes me on to something else. I don't know about you, Kate, but I see a lot of people trying to sell their authorities on social media. You see that a lot?
Yes, and they specify, I'm already set up with Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, guys, all you're doing is you are feeding the scammers. I promise you that is all you're doing is feeding the scammers. I know you're trying to get out of the business with a couple bucks in your pocket, and I admire that. Okay, but yeah, don't sell them the Amazon account too, because it's the Amazon account that's causing the problem. Those Amazon accounts being sold is why these scammers are able to get their hands on Amazon loads and scam the hell out of them all the way around. It's insane how much damage they do. If you have been victim to one of these scams, you can always reach out to myself or Kate. We can help you. We can help you get paid. So please contact us, and we'll get you squared away on those. It's another new scam that's out there in the ether. I saw this out on Reddit earlier today, so thank you very much, Reddit. MyDATFreight.com. If you are getting emails from somebody claiming to be DAT and the email exchange ends in mydatfreight.com, it is a scam. It is not a valid DAT email. Do not send them your password. Do not send them your credentials. That's how these guys are getting you. Okay, so please do not fall for the phishing scams. If ever you question whether or not something is a phishing scam, contact the 1-800 number for whoever it is that sent you the email and get the information from the source. If there's ever any doubt, again, reach out to us. We're sure to set you straight. 9 times out of 10, it's a scam. I hate saying that, But that's the industry that we're working in right now. Every day, it's another scam. I just don't get it. I don't think I ever will. But it's crazy. Now, I have to give credit to some of the brokers that are out there, and I don't know if this particular broker watches or not. But you all have heard me say many times that pen and ink BOL, a physical document that has the shipper's ink and the receiver's ink on it, is worth its weight in gold, because that is the only document that proves in a court of law that you are the final mile carrier. So you want to protect that document at all costs. So I've got a bone to pick with this one broker, yet from a fraud prevention standpoint, I applaud what they're doing, and that is asking for the physical BOL. Now, this particular broker is fairly new, but for every load that I have booked with them, they wanted the actual physical documents overnighted to them for payment. Now, being new, they're not factorable. So strike one under my usual checklist of red flags. Number two, foreign accents. Okay. I'm going to admit that wholeheartedly. So the first time I booked a load with these guys, the very first thing I did was I called the shipper and I said, I need you to verify who your freight broker is. Well, it's so-and-so brokerage, which is the brokerage I booked the load with. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for your time. So I know they're the real broker, but of course you always wonder. So I've done probably 4 loads with these guys now. They've paid every time, but I've had to send them my BOLs every time. So it gets kind of annoying, but I'm getting more and more comfortable with them as I go. Now, here is the trick. If a broker ever asks you to send a BOL to them, the physical document, insure the document. Make sure you insure it for the amount of your rate confirmation, because that document, again, is the only thing that proves that you hauled the load. So if you send it to somebody and it gets lost for whatever reason, and they claim, oh, well, we never got it, file a claim against the post office, file a claim against FedEx, UPS, or whatever service you used. And at least that way you're going to get your money. But if you don't insure and the documents are lost, you are screwed. You have no legal recourse. You can sit there and claim all you'd like, but you can't provide the physical document. So you can't go to court saying that you're the final mile carrier. You don't have the right documents. Insure the documents, okay? That is one critical thing you must do if you're asked to do that. And this one broker is not the first time that I've heard about of people sending physical BOLs. If you're involved in a double broker issue, you may be asked to provide the physical BOL as well. In fact, whenever I have to file on a real broker's bond because they refuse to believe that they've been scammed, then I make the offer to the bond company. We will send you the physical BOL as proof that we are the final mile carrier. That usually gets the bond to pay it out. So take that for what it's worth. Make sure you insure that physical BOL. You ever been asked to send in a physical BOL, Kate?
Yes.
How often?
I don't remember. That's happened one time.
About how long ago? I'm curious.
Oh, probably at least a year ago.
A year. Ouch. Okay. I got a feeling because of this broker and the fact that they've never been scammed as a result of this practice, that we may see this become a norm. It would not surprise me if that happens. I would actually not be surprised if factoring companies don't start asking for it. It's going to be interesting over the course of the next 6 months as people continue to try to figure out how to stop the scammers from doing what they do. But I think that sending the physical BOL is going to be the norm for settling disputes. And that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. I know there are carriers out there who would disagree with me, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
I would agree. It'd
Now,
be a pain in
here's
the ass,
something
kind
that,
of, but
absolutely, it's a pain in the ass. Because somebody's got to sit there and make sure that carriers are getting paid for having to ship these things in. That's an additional expense. So as long as the brokers are reimbursing, which this broker is, basically they're paying by quick pay and not charging a quick pay fee. So it ends up balancing out. But, it that's the kind of thing that brokers may need to do if they're going to do that on a regular basis.
what
I've
does
already
it
kind of
generally
jumped it.
cost to put insurance on a document that's being overnighted?
That's a damn good question. That is a damn fine question. I can tell you exactly how much my carrier paid. Ba-ba-ba-ba. So now I'm going through my texts just to see how much he actually paid for that. Sent priority mail through the U.S. Postal Service cost $39.20. It's got a tracking number. It's insured. My carrier insured it for $1,500. His rate confirmation was for $1,400. So, okay, I'm not going to fault him for what number he insures it at. But yeah, all in all, and it's the insurance that really is the money here, folks. Okay, to send a priority mail envelope costs just under $10. It was the insurance that cost about $30. So, but it's worth it in the end. It really is. It's got a tracking number. I ran the tracking earlier today. He shipped it on a Friday. It is in Houston now and goes out for delivery tomorrow morning. So nice that I can track that stuff. And then as soon as it delivers, I then contact their AP office and I was like, can you confirm you received it? Please confirm you received it. Post office says it's delivered. Please confirm. They eventually confirm. Okay. So next topic I've got out here. I saw this also on Reddit. Boy, Reddit, I have to give Reddit credit. They've got some good information out there. Yeah, and like anything else on social media. And folks, I'll even say that about this show. If you hear something here, don't be afraid to verify what you hear. Okay. Don't take everything you hear as gospel, please. Trust but verify. It's one of my favorite sayings. I think that was Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify. C.H. Robinson is now using AI to bid loads. I caught a copy of this story on Reddit. I think it originated with FreightWaves. Basically, their sales departments are getting a boost by utilizing AI in order to issue bids to shippers. Okay, you want to use AI to do that? Okay, that's fine. Where are the potential pitfalls? For me, as a trained economist, my concern is in price fixing. Does the AI then determine the new price of the market based on its bids? And is it constantly trying to drive down rates in order to win bids? Or is it trying to stabilize to what the real market is supposed to look like? To me, that's my biggest concern on that. Any thoughts on that, Kate?
I mean, I agree. I've personally never had an issue with the rates that C.H. Robinson pays. Now I do know of other companies that I will not mention that underbid other brokerages just to get the freight and then run it for, pennies to the carrier. But I don't know. I would be curious to see how that turns out, just because from what I've experienced, and I know other people have had different experiences, but I've always gotten pretty decent rates from C.H. Robinson. So I'm curious to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't booked a load with C.H. Robinson in a long time. I haven't been out on their load board in a while. Haven't had a need to go out on their load board for a while. You run hot shots. for the most part. I do a lot of box trucks,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't typically get a lot of loads going through a lot of different broker load boards.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this very publicly, but 75% of the loads I book come off of DAT.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I've got a broker in an area, am I calling them? Absolutely. Am I posting my trucks all the time? Absolutely. But DAT is usually where I get the majority of my loads. But that's unfortunately the nature of the beast. Box trucks are not something that a lot of brokers specialize in. And those who do, they'd rather put it out on the boards and get as cheap a rate as they can, as opposed to calling their trusted carriers more often than not. And that's something that drives me insane. But hey, you know what? Nature of the business, right? But my concern again is from an economic standpoint. What I don't want to see happen is the economy being driven by AI. AI's got a lot of good things going for it. It has good applications in a lot of places. What I don't want to see it do is I don't want to see it setting rates. That's my big fear. And call me a conspiracy theorist for it. But I think AI does have a place in this industry. I think it's okay to be for the sales standpoint. But I really hope they don't sit there and start using the AI to create rates to go onto the boards. I think that could be a fatal flaw for the industry. Because is the AI taking into account the actual cost of a carrier?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it, the brokers don't. Who knows? Maybe AI would fix that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But brokers don't always take into account what the carrier's actual costs are. They're like, oh well, it's just a partial, so they're just going to throw it on as an opportunity thing, so we don't have to worry about how much it actually costs for a carrier to do it. I've seen loads in Chicago. I don't know about you, but in the box truck world, Chicago is usually the hottest market. You can usually consistently get $2 a mile out of there fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
And when they have it up as a partial, you may have a 200-mile partial for 15 feet, and they're paying you $100 for it. I'm like, who the hell's going to sit there and take a partial for $100? I mean, I charge $100 just for a pickup.
No,
I mean,
I was thinking today, I was just thinking about this. What irritates me is even some stuff that's small. So generally, even if it's a partial, the bigger the partial is, the more it'll pay. The smaller it is, the less it'll pay, whatever, which is understandable to a fault. But these things still take time. So for example's sake, I have a guy that's going from Austin to Michigan with a partial. Now, his first partial paid relatively well. It was taking up less than half the trailer, less than half the weight, paid well over $1 a mile. So we just needed to, make up the rest. Well, there was one load that was going through Indiana. There were actually two, one going through Indiana, one going through Illinois. But one of them that I had discussed with somebody paid like 50 cents a mile. And I'm just thinking, man, I mean, if he could do it all in one day, it'd be one thing. But you never know how long all of those unloads are going to take. So it kind of, sometimes it can cost you a day, where you would have ended up emptying both loads on Thursday and you could get reloaded. Now you have three, and it's probably going to take till now you're not going to get loaded again till Friday or whatever. So that's kind of my take on that.
oh, I agree. The bottom line is I don't feel that brokers, well, okay, maybe not the brokers, their sales teams don't take into account, the time that a carrier has to take to deal with stuff. You sit there and you post a load. I actually saw this for last week, $75.
I saw an $80 one today.
I mean, talk about an insult. You're trying to get a carrier to then take the time to do a pickup, take the time to do a delivery, all for $80. And that's without moving the truck. So I'm sorry, where's the benefit? There is none. Carriers lose money on that.
Yeah, and then they
Like,
say, "Oh,
like I
well,
said,
it's a partial." Okay, well, unless it's
that doesn't
going
matter.
literally on my route, like unless I can drop it off on the highway while I'm, driving up on 65, I don't want it. If I can drop it off on the side of the road super fast, like I don't want it. And those things
No,
are
no, I
never
want to be able to push it off the truck while I'm driving.
right.
You know, I mean, I'll hook a parachute up to it. No, absolutely, it's insanity. Um, I know when I'm looking at partials, I charge $100 for the pickup, $100 for the delivery. Okay, and I do that to make sure that I can compensate for the mileage out of the way that it would be from my normal path, and the time that the carrier is going to spend. Now, luckily for me, again, box trucks. So if I'm
Hmm.
grabbing a partial, it's like 1 or 2 pallets. So
Yeah.
I'm in the door, I'm out the door usually in a few minutes, but it's still time. It's still distance. It's still labor. And those things have to be taken into account. So I charge 100 on the front end, 100 on the back end, and then I charge the mileage in the middle. So when I'm bidding, that's the formula that I'm always using. Sometimes I'll win under that formula, and sometimes I won't. And if I don't, then I'm not taking the load. I'm not going to sit there and do something for pennies unless it is absolutely positively on my freaking way and my driver is just hungry to make a few extra bucks so he can eat lunch that day.
Hmm.
Um, Otherwise, I'm not even bothering. But it is what it is. I take what I can when I can. Um, I really do like Hot Shots, though. I really like the way that Hot Shots operate, and I envy you because of the flexibility that Hot Shots have versus box trucks. Now, I've got one carrier that has a Hot Shot, and every single time it's always stacking partials. And stacking partials is no problem on a Hot Shot. So he always makes money. The box trucks, though, it's a problem because if a broker tells you it's a dedicated load and only puts one pallet on the truck, it's a dedicated load and you only got one pallet.
Oh yeah, but
You
then,
know,
sometimes the drivers that don't know what they're doing necessarily are like, "I have
well,
all
then
this
book
room. What do you mean
something
you can't
else.
give me
Uh
something
huh.
else?"
Yeah, as long as you're accounting for it, dispatchers out there, if your truck, if someone's paying for your entire truck and only throwing one pallet on there, damn it, make sure they're paying for the whole damn truck.
Hmm.
I have seen TQL do this. I've seen a couple other brokers do this. They have a dedicated load and they're paying 90 cents a mile because it's only one pallet. Oh, it's only one pallet. You're paying for the whole damn truck. I'm
It's only
sorry. It
12
costs
inches
80 cents a
tall.
mile in fuel.
Yeah.
Costs 80 cents a mile in fuel to go and do this thing. How the hell are you going to pay me 90? What am I supposed to do to pay for driver? What am I supposed to do to pay for maintenance? What am I supposed to do to pay for insurance? Well, that's not my problem. Want to bet? I'm not taking your load. Oh, okay. Well, what if I give you 95 cents a mile? What? Did you not hear me? I partial it or I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
Now, box truck guys and for dry van guys, I'm going to tell you now, I know the temptation is there to go and throw something else on the truck because you've got space. I know the temptation is there. They tell you it's dedicated, don't do it. If you do it, don't get caught. If you get caught, you get in a freight yard and no, I'm not going to help you out of it. So seriously, pay attention to what you're doing out there, guys. I know we're all trying to make some money out here. Brokers, if you're only moving 1 or 2 pallets and you could handle a quality carrier partialing it, let the quality carrier partial it, please. It will make a lot of carriers' time and trouble a bit more worth it for them. So I'll just leave that PSA out there as it is. Speaking of PSAs, we've seen 7 different iterations of double brokering over the last 2 years. 7 different types of double brokering in 2 years. And it's all an evolution. Here is the next evolution, ladies and gentlemen. The fake double broker is what we're calling this. So we've been dealing a lot with the international scammers when it comes to double brokering. This one sounds like it's a homegrown thing. Okay, so the fake double broker, here's how this works. Real carrier books a load. Real carrier hauls the load. Okay, real carrier then goes to get paid for the load. A second carrier, somehow related to the first, calls the broker, claims the load was double brokered and that they have the BOL, seeking to get paid for doing the load, even though they actually never did. I have to give huge credit to the one broker who brought this to my attention actually today, because he was in the situation, and he is very close to his shipper and was able to get the video footage from shipping and receiving. The original carrier that he booked was the carrier that picked it up, was the carrier that delivered, was the carrier who got paid. But then he figured out, because of advances that he gave to the real carrier, that the second carrier and the real carrier were involved together in a scam because of something the second carrier said. Now, here's how it broke down. Carrier A goes to pick up, says, "Hey, I need a fuel advance." Okay, so broker's like, "All right, well, send me a picture of your truck, in front of the shipper to prove it's you, yada yada yada." Okay, great. Good safety thing that's important to verify. So he advances him $100, or sorry, $1,000. First carrier then delivers, submits the POD, and says, "Yeah, we need quick pay." Broker's like, "I don't do quick pay. Pay net 30." But the broker throws him a bone, throws him an extra $1,000 as an advance, and he's going to pay the remaining $2,000 in that 30-day period. So the next day, we still have $1,600 left over here. So, well, for round numbers, $2,000 left over to be paid to the real carrier. So the second carrier calls the next day and says, "Hey, the load was double brokered. I've got the load. I had the load. I delivered it. Here's the BOL." They got a copy of the BOL. They changed the name on the BOL from the first carrier to them. And they start negotiating with the broker. And the broker's like, "Well, I need to verify all this stuff first." And he's trying to go through the verification process. But the second carrier slips up and says, "Just pay us the $2,000 still left to pay the original guy, and we'll be satisfied with that." Huh? How the hell do you know that there's $2,000 left to be paid to the original carrier?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the scammer tipping their hand. Now, mind you, these were Americans. These were not Eastern European scammers or anything like that. So what they tried to do is they tried to basically get paid twice for the same load. Okay, that's essentially what the scam is. Now, there is another variant of this, the same broker shared with me, that occurred to him last week, where a load really was double brokered. Okay, the scammer carrier, we'll call that carrier number one. Scammer carrier reported carrying the load and submitted invoice for payment. Carrier two, who is also a scammer, calls and says the same thing, but the load was double brokered to them. Okay, so now he's trying to figure out which one of these guys actually hauled the load. 2 days later, a third carrier calls, and this still happens to be the real carrier, claiming that not only did he haul it, but the scammer actually paid them. He was just doing a courtesy of letting the broker know that the load was double brokered. So now you have scammers out there, even the international ones, who are doing this fake double broker thing to get the brokers to pay twice under double pay liability, while the real carrier comes in behind and either claims that they want to get paid or they've been paid by the scammer, but either way, you now have a position where brokers are getting stuck not just with double pay liability, but in some cases, triple pay liability. So this fake double broker scam that exists out there can be combined with a real double broker scam and potentially force brokers to pay 3 times for the same load. So brokers, please, please, please do your part in verifying. And the bare minimum, make sure you're verifying the actual carriers at the shipper and the receiver. If you do not do that, you can fall victim to this type of scam and get paid over and over again. I mean, there are plenty of scammers who steal your loads and then sell it to an unsuspecting carrier, and the carrier finds out about it later when he has been paid. And you're still obligated to take care of that real carrier. Make sure you do your homework whenever these claims come forward. In fact, do your homework before you ever pay. I would put the onus on your accounts payable department to make sure that they're not paying a scammer. Because at the end of the day, your customer is liable, and then you indemnify your customer, which makes you liable. So please stay alert for this kind of thing, because it can really come back and bite you in the tail. I don't know if Kate's still with me. Are you still with me, Kate? Okay. So Kate, I know she's having issues because of storms in her area.
I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Cool.
I'm dropping out though, so if I totally drop, then that's what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of figured. But these scams get more and more diabolical. It drives me insane. You know, a lot of you guys know that I'm in the process of writing a webinar that I'm hoping to start offering soon. You know, I was hoping to have it ready 3 weeks ago. I'm still not done because every time I come up with a new scam, I try to dive into it and study it and try to prepare defenses for it so I can include that into the webinar's launch. So it is going to be coming. Whenever I do actually have the fraud prevention webinar ready, I will advertise it. I'll have it on my YouTube page, my Facebook group, and I'll have it out in certain groups in LinkedIn. I will also have it a link to it on my signature block for those brokers that I do business with, so they can see it and evaluate my content for themselves before they try applying for it. The intent is really to help train new brokers, new carriers, and new dispatchers to how to recognize fraud in the industry as it's going on. At the end of the day, we want people to catch the scams before the cargo is picked up. And if not before the cargo is picked up, definitely before it delivers. That is where everyone can win against the scammer. Once the cargo delivers, scammers have won the game. So please, 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 please keep that in mind. And look out for this training. I do think it's going to be exceptionally valuable for a lot of people out there. And I'll take whatever feedback anyone has once we start getting that out there. How are things going with your dispatch website that you're doing, Kate?
It's still the same. I mean, it launched quite a while ago, so I really do need to get up there and update it, because I know I've talked to several people that I know are definitely worth their salt that I need to put on there. And I mean, it's totally free. They don't pay for that or anything, so I just need to get on there and update it.
What's that website again?
It is www.dispatch-verify.org.
So dispatch-verify.org. That's almost a tongue twister for a Monday afternoon. Yeah. Check that out. If you're in the market for a dispatcher, these are dispatch services that Kate vets and verifies their competency in the kind of work that they do. She also verifies their legal sufficiency. You know, she takes a look at their contracts to make sure they're sufficient. She takes a look at how they do business versus DOT regulations, as well as the dispatch service regulations that FMCSA posted back in October. So she reviews all that information to try to help you sort through the millions of phone calls that every carrier seems to get every day from these dispatch agencies. And I'll be the first to tell you, as a dispatcher, most of them are fraud. I mean, most of them are scammers. They're looking for ways to scam carriers, and it's a minefield out there. And these people give Kate and I a bad name. We're tired of it because we know that we do what's right for our clients. We represent them properly. We take good care of them. We keep them out of trouble. And these dispatchers who are calling people every single day, they do not. All they care about are numbers and taking a cut of everything you do. That's not what Kate and I are in business for. We're in business to help carriers get along and get things done properly.
I will say, I really do believe that the people that, not everybody, obviously, but there are a lot of people that get into this or want to get into this, and they do have good intentions. They want to learn the business and have, a stable job for themselves and all these great things, but the way they're misinformed on how to begin, I guess. It's the only way I can really put it.
Well, these guys get their training by watching YouTube videos, right? And ironically, here we are, we're on YouTube,
Yeah.
talking about dispatching and the proper way to do business. But they get their education on YouTube. The question is, what's the quality of the education that they're getting? I personally, and I have nothing wrong with somebody who's getting into the industry for the first time, starting off in dispatching. But a quality dispatcher, in my humble opinion, is somebody who's been behind the wheel or has been a part of the industry for a long time. I mean, it's like Kate has not been behind the wheel. She was not a driver, but she knows so much about this industry, she can accurately and confidently represent a carrier and keep them from getting into trouble. So I absolutely
wasn't shipping. I wasn't shipping.
Yeah, you were in shipping
for a while, so
you had a background. You still had a background in it. That's the important part. You had a background. Okay, so driver, I think, is the best option, but having a background in the industry is what matters. If you've only worked a warehouse before, that's okay because you understand how warehouses work. You understand what is going through the minds of the guys on the forklifts, what they need to worry about, how long it's going to take to load something. You've got an idea of that kind of thing. So you have credibility in this industry. The guys that don't have credibility are the ones who are like in college or just coming out of college, have never worked in this industry before, and say, hey, dispatching sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. So you
learn
do
from
it.
somebody. You have to have an exceptional amount of patience, number one. I'm only 25 years old, and you see how much gray I've got here.
Yeah, you and me both.
Okay. I'm 49, so the gray is earned. But the point is that this can be a very stressful profession.
Yes,
and
Jason.
Being
Through
this
all the
stressful.
frauds.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. Jason, one of these times you're going to have to come on to the show with us and just hang out with us. You know that, right? These guys just drive me insane. What I would really prefer to do at the end of the day is to have all these dispatchers, again, come in with experience. Please come in with experience. Driving is probably the best, but working a warehouse is very good. Especially if you were in a clerk type position, you did the back office, you wrote the BOLs, stuff along those lines. That's always good stuff because and those who take my webinar are going to learn this. There's a proper way to fill out those BOLs, and a lot of people do not fill those BOLs properly, and it makes it harder to hold people accountable when the BOL is not done properly. So, I don't know of a single carrier that I represent who I haven't had to yell at for not signing their BOLs. I mean, Drivers, sign the damn document. Please sign the document. It is your document. It is your control. You sign it for a reason. Please sign the document. It drives me insane. Drives me utterly insane when people don't sign the documents. I have long said that a carrier should provide their drivers not only with the knowledge to make sure they're signing their documents, but give them a damn stamp that has their MC number, the company name on it, the driver's printed name, and then have the driver sign underneath that. That way, everyone can easily identify who is the real carrier on the load. Real simple. Okay. Will the scammer white it out and do whatever, Photoshop it or whatever the hell they're going to do? Of course they are.
Hey,
but
while we're on that,
we'll have the stamped copy.
While we're on that, anytime I have a hunch that a load is double brokered, and still I'll call the shipper. Hey, I just want to confirm that this is who you booked this load with, blah, 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 blah. Or if I call the original broker and they say, oh yeah, they do that, we know. I will still, if I have a hunch, I'll password protect. I'll convert it to an Adobe file, and then I'll password protect it so that it can't be edited. You can do that, and it's actually pretty easy. So, FYI.
And that's a good thing. Dispatchers, you guys are the front lines in dealing with this stuff. You're going to be the first one that catches this stuff because you see all the documents, you see it all early on. And the best time to catch this stuff is when it's still in the truck. Expeditors to Millhouse to carrier to another carrier. Man, that's a great question. And that is next to impossible to really describe, especially the last part of that. To carrier to another carrier. That is 100% illegal. That cannot happen. If that happens, that is double brokerage. That's a problem. Okay. But I also agree, expeditors to Millhouse can be an issue. Now, here's the caveat. Expeditors is a well-known freight forwarder. If they are operating as the freight forwarder, they are not the broker. They can then hire a freight broker to then procure transportation. Okay, that is not illegal. So for international cargoes coming into the country, you have the importing freight forwarder. You have then the freight broker, then carrier. Even though all the paperwork's going to say expeditors, using Jason's example, that is perfectly legal. But when you have two carriers in there, that's a problem because when you go to pick up an international load, you go to the airport, you're going to a seaport or wherever, you are going to get a delivery order or a DO. And that document must have the carrier's name in order for it to be released. If your name as the carrier is not on there, it's not going to be a valid DO. You're not going to get the cargo. At least you shouldn't be getting the cargo. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, to key on Jason's example a little bit further, let's assume for a second that Expeditors is not being a freight forwarder. They are actually the broker. And then they broker it to Millhouse, who then brokers it again to a carrier. Now you're probably dealing with a situation where you have, what am I going to say, Kate? You know this.
I was looking at a load. Repeat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We're dispatchers. Let's face it. We still got trucks we're trying to take care of. You have a situation where there's a agreement, a co-broker agreement. So now co-brokering, for those who don't know, co-brokering is when two brokers agree to work together on the same load. Now, the caveats to that is that everyone in the process needs to know that it's happened. Everyone in the process should have access to the agreement. The two brokers are sharing the same margin. So when it goes over from one broker to the second broker. That second broker can't add a larger margin to keep a bigger cut for themselves. Okay, that's
the
all.
margin is $500. It's $250 a piece.
Exactly.
Not 1,000.
So exactly. So you can't keep taking bigger and bigger chunks when you're doing co-brokering, and the agreement has to be accessible if asked. So be prepared for that. And brokers do not like sharing their co-brokering agreements, but for the sake of following the regulation, guys, you have the broker transparency regulation available to you. You can always ask for it using that, because it's going to be part of the broker's file. Now, let me get back to Jason's thing here. He wanted to clarify that Millhouse was on the BOL. Let's back up 1 second. I said before that a lot of guys do not fill out BOLs properly, right? I have had Millhouse loads where Millhouse is listed as the carrier. Okay? Doesn't mean jack crap. It's supposed to have the real carrier on there. The broker is not supposed to be listed in the carrier block on the BOL, and that's by regulation, but it's not enforced. So it's become an industry standard that the broker can appear either as the carrier or as the third party. The broker is always supposed to be the third party. The broker should never be in the carrier block, but it's become an accepted practice for the carrier or for the broker to show up in that block. So my original thought, Expeditors being the freight forwarder, Millhouse being the broker, and then the first carrier being the real carrier, still holds unless there's some other clear sign of double brokerage that exists. In situations like that, I will reach out to whoever's letterhead the bill of lading is on. If it's on Expeditors, I will call them and say, hey, look, are you the freight forwarder or are you the freight broker? We're the freight forwarder. Okay, who's the freight broker for this load? Millhouse. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And I'm done. Okay, especially if I'm representing the first carrier. The fact that it's got two carriers on there, always wrong. Always will be. So, but thank you for bringing that up, Jason. That's a complicated case, and I'm glad you brought that up. You got any others you want to pitch my way? We still got 5 minutes. I like Jason, and I know he's a loose cannon. He said it a couple of times to us. I'd like to bring him on the show at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, if you're willing, we'll make sure we put up the Not Safe for Kids logo on that episode. But we'll have you on the show. We'll be happy to have you. Because I'd love to sit here and just joust with you on some of these examples that you have. Yeah, co-brokering is just, to me, is just as bad as double brokering, and it should be made illegal, in my opinion. Just right along with selling your authority. Yes, I know your channel. I have seen your channel. If you want to put your channel up here, I'll be happy to post it for everyone to take a look at. So go ahead and type it into the comments, and I'll put it out there for you. I have not had the chance to check you out yet, I'm sorry to say. I have literally spent this entire weekend, last 2 weekends actually, busting my ass around the house because I don't get to do it during the week. I'm too damn tired by the time I'm done.
Yeah.
Kate was just mentioning to me before the show how tired she was and she really needed a nap. And I'll tell you, I never feel like I get enough sleep. It's insane how much this thing takes out of you. There it is, Axel Live. I'm going to be checking out your channel the next chance I get because I'd love to have you on the show. Yes, raw the way you are, because I think it would add a little bit of spice. We could always use a little spice here. Sometimes this stuff can get boring. I'm sorry, it can, but it is important for the information to get out, especially for new carriers and all this stuff. See, this is what I like about Jason. He is a man after my own heart. I may be the double broker bounty hunter, but he's also out there hunting, and he's also after not just the international guys, but the domestic guys too. So we definitely need to join forces, and we can do some good out here in this space. I am not sure who else is out there, but I want to give a shout out to my friends over at the Logistics Lounge. Hopefully they are out there and watching today. Haven't heard from them very much. I was out actually on Logistics Lounge last week for a little while on one of their episodes. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I missed one of my favorite guests of theirs. Is known as the Armchair Attorney, and he's a transportation attorney. I see him post a lot in LinkedIn. Definitely like do shows with them on that. Oh, Kate, you've got to go with me when I do Logistics Lounge. They want to hang out with you.
Well, cool.
They told me that the other day. So next time I happen to just drop in on one of their shows, I'll text you. I'll send you the link so that we both can go in and hang out with those guys because they're a lot of fun. For those who don't know, Logistics Lounge is a broker-centric podcast, usually Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons, typically starting around 3:30 Central Time, and they run till however. They usually run about 2 hours long, but they are a good group of guys. Hunter and Pedro are good friends. They are very smart brokers. They have a very good grasp of what's going on, and they put on one hell of a show. I always enjoy whenever I'm hanging out with them. So we're coming up towards the end of the hour. Some of the final things that I'd like to key on, I want to hold off for just a minute. Kate, you got anything you want to hit on before we shut down?
Just as far as any kind of fraud, whether it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's broker fraud, carrier fraud, whatever, predatory, whatever it is, reach out. If you think that you've been scammed in any way, shape, or form by anybody, reach out. We'll assess the situation and see if there's any way to move forward or what the best way is to move forward.
Absolutely. Our emails are at the bottom of the screen. Guys, whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride. You have help, but you got to say something as early as you possibly can. Your first inkling that you've got an issue, you got to say something to us. Okay, man, you take care, Jason. Thanks for checking in with us. Lastly, we are here every Monday afternoon, 5 p.m. Central on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We have audio going out on the Spotify, RSS. Please be sure to check us out, subscribe. We want to get as many people involved as possible to help stop these scammers. We'll keep reporting on them. We're going to keep exposing them as much as we can, but it takes you guys being out there to listen to us and to put that information to use in order for this to be successful. So we thank everybody who watches our videos live or watches the rebroadcast off of our websites. Please feel free to send us comments, send us emails. We love any feedback you can give us. In the meantime, have yourselves a safe week. Watch yourself out there. DAT is out there in force. If you partake, stay off the road, at least for this week. No judgment. Seriously, no judgment. But in the meantime, guys, take care of yourselves, and we will see you again next week. Kate, take care of yourself.
You too. Bye, guys.